This piece of history is proudly supported by the Museum of Vancouver. Vancouver's story begins here. Welcome back to the show. We are in the basement of the Museum of Vancouver, which is commonly referred to as collection storage. That's the official title of this space. This is where all the best stuff is. There's great stuff upstairs. I'm not saying there's bad stuff upstairs. It's a great place to visit, but we are going to look at some stuff you're never going to see, including this, which is actually Aline's mom on the front of this, our interview that we did earlier. That's her mom in 1986. And this is Sharon. She's going to tell us all about weaving and the resurgence of weaving. So
sure.
How did it come about that it sort of came back?
Well, like weaving was kind of suppressed by like churches and, the government officials. And so it was really tied to ceremony. And so it started out in the Fraser Valley in the 60s where a local farmer was interested. He started visiting around and he met a woman who was still weaving, and he encouraged, local women to study with her. And they started a weavers guild, and they actually would fill orders, and they had little tags that said Salish Weavers Guild they'd put on their weavings. And so they were kind of active as a guild until the mid-80s.
Okay.
And then around that same period is when at Musqueam, Deborah's sister, Wendy Grant John, she ran an employment program for women, and they looked at doing weaving together. And Deborah was a participant of that program as well. And she really excelled, came into the spotlight as a Musqueam weaver, and she's been going strong ever since.
Since 1986, yeah. This is her on the front of this magazine from back then.
Yeah.
And it's about the revival of Salish weaving at Musqueam.
Yeah, and so that exhibition, Hands of Our Ancestors, was the same time as Expo 86.
Oh,
and,
okay.
Yeah.
This is from an exhibition then?
Yeah, that's an exhibition that happened at the Museum of Anthropology. And then Betsy Johnson worked really closely with Musqueam Weavers. She did a little museum note about it. So I thought you'd like it because Deborah's on the cover.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Shout out to Deborah.
Yeah.
This here is the very first Musqueam weaving that you have in the collection?
Yeah, so we don't have a very large Salish weaving collection. We have about 6 older blankets. And then I've been working, we're trying to reshape the collection through repatriation. And we're doing contemporary collecting. We want to be respectful of the host nations and host nations artists. So it was a priority to get a Musqueam weaving. And I saw this a few years ago at the end of our fiscal year at the Museum of Anthropology on display. And it commemorates the Sesnam, the City Before the City exhibitions that were done. And there were 3 done, one here, one at MOA, and one in the Cultural Center at Musqueam. So I thought, what a perfect weaving to bring into our collection, because we still have a Sesnam exhibition upstairs. And it's just a really beautiful piece. It's kind of child-sized. And so we have this beautiful wool weaving by Deborah, and then we also have a yellow cedar tunic now. That's cool. Sort of boy-sized. So, they would display nicely together down the road at some point if folks wanted to do that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it's rumored that this might have woolly dog fibers in it.
Right, yeah. So we have had all the older weavings tested to see if they had wool dog in them. And we had Elaine Humphrey from UVic. She has a fancy microscope, and she takes samples and looks at them under a microscope. So she felt there could be some wool dog fibers in here. So we have it kind of as a question mark because we haven't had it DNA tested. So it's all sort of based on visual inspection.
Right.
So that's why it's a question mark and not confirmed.
Okay.
Yeah.
The mystery of the woolly dog lives on at the Museum of Vancouver. Vancouver's story begins here. Come here, visit, and you will see some amazing stuff. That's the show for this week. Big thanks to my guest, Aline Sparrow, Susan Blaney from Slaamen for weaving me this cedar hat, show director Derek Wong, roving reporter Nina Savage, editor Arav, and everybody at employee-owned CHEK Media. Follow me on social media for more stories like the one about this long-lost woven dunk that was designed for Nike by a dude from Armstrong, BC of all places. And check out my printed digest at bcbob.ca. You can buy copies of it there for $25 and subscribe to my newsletter where I do regular giveaways of it. I'll see you here on CHEK next week when I'll tell you more stories about this great province of ours. And now you know BC.